Hello, Sebastian here from Twin Peaks. Let me show you what the imbalances can be used for and what they actually are. So, imbalances always means that we have a strong overhang between sellers and buyers or vice versa. I have now colored it here so that we have the buy imbalances in a brown tone and the sell imbalances in a dark purple. And we can already see that we display things here accordingly. This means that we have the sellers here and we have the buyers. And the entire display shows us, for example, right here, we have many selling balances, simply two on top of each other, which indicates that there was much stronger selling pressure here than buying pressure. And of course, we can freely configure the entire setup here. We can say here, all right, the ratio 300% or 400%, depending on how we want it. We can also say we want to read it diagonally or horizontally. As you can see, nothing changes here because you have to reload the whole thing once because the calculation behind it has to be done again. Change the whole thing here to 400, and we will see that nothing changes here either. I'm going to right-click here and go to Reload NinjaScript USAND. As I said, this will take a moment, and then the data will be reloaded. And now we can already see that all the things here have changed a bit. So I open the window again, then go back to my imbalances, and now I see that everything is clear. I have the factor from 400 and can continue working with it. Here too, the minimum imbalance volume, because we don't usually want to check against 0, because that makes no sense, because everything is infinitely larger than 0, and then we get strange values here. That's why we don't look at them any further. We also notice the minimum volume, especially in thin, in the NASDAQ, is actually quite exciting to evaluate imbalances. As I said, we can adjust texts, namely how the whole thing should be displayed here. So we want to emphasize this text that we see here, and we'll see how we want to do that here. I've now made it a bit bold here, 2001, and this makes the whole thing a bit clearer. Colors are adjustable, and also the opacity of these texts. It is called 50%, or they are correspondingly paler. Then we also have the option here to extend these imbalances. If we have imbalances that have not yet been dealt with, we can display them. I'll show you this here. And we have this visibility mode here. I'll set this to all. And then we have the broken level mode here. So if this is broken level, and I'll make it a bit smaller, it will be clearer for us. And we can already see everything clearly here. This level here, this is still an imbalance which was unbroken the whole time up to here. Is a single imbalance, so to speak. 2001 is still unbroken. If it was then broken, it is correspondingly invisible. The whole thing is also checked. Calculation mode, either at bar close first or at every tick. As soon as we run in here once, the whole thing is already considered broken. Break level as session end simply means that we do not carry over these levels into the next day. Or if we have this off, then the levels are also carried over into the next day. If there are still imbalances here. As a position, we also have the option here again, that we only say in the body or in the wig. So here again, we can filter the whole thing very nicely. Minimum volume is also, we only want to display these lines in the chart for imbalances that are greater than a certain value. Yes, so it is also very exciting for us. And here, as I said, if we only say only the broken or only the unbroken, we have the option, this here, to see. And then the exciting thing is that we can also set different colors here, how broken and unbroken levels should be displayed. For example, simply this one on 10 and this one on 50. Then we already have the option here to display the whole thing a little differently. So here we have the level here, which is now paler and then becomes stronger again. So you can adjust the whole thing here in very different ways. 2001. Then we also have the option of displaying stacked imbalances here, i.e. if there is more than one on top of each other, because then we often have the case that there was strong buying or selling interest. In other words, we take a look here, deactivate these normal imbalances briefly by setting them to off, then they are gone accordingly. And we can actually leave this as it is because it only affects these single imbalances. If we are at multiple imbalances, then we want to display the whole thing accordingly, means visibility mode we set to all. Then we can already see where there were more and more imbalances, in this case now at least 3 price levels to count. These are now displayed to us accordingly as stacked imbalances. And we see accordingly where there was the reaction. In footprint trading in particular, such levels are very exciting, as there can often be reactions to them. And we can see here that these boxes are drawn where this has happened, separately for bid and ask, and only when this has really been broken through. Then the whole thing is taken out of the chart here once. These are the green boxes for buy. I'll see if I can find another one for sell, but in principle, it's shown in orange. We don't have an example here, but here we have one we can take a quick look at, and then we can see these 3 sell imbalances on top of each other, which then form this zone, and we can configure the whole thing in the same way by saying to ourselves, hey, we would like to take this with us into the next day or not. We would like to set the whole thing as an area or as an outline. Then it usually becomes clearer on how thick the whole thing should be. You can also say, show intraday only, for example, if you have loaded 30 days in the chart, and it just gets too colorful for you in the truest sense of the word. Then you can say, okay, only intraday, and then draw these levels only for the current day. Extend right simply means you can see here on the right-hand side that the whole thing either ends where the last bar is or is extended to the right. Here too we have an advanced coloring accordingly, where we can display the whole thing here in the factors, would always differently, i.e. how strong the imbalances are, and then we can also color it differently, how strongly the whole thing is displayed. This is also very useful for retail. We also have different opacity options for the colors, in addition to the actual colors, so that we can set the whole thing very discreetly or very concisely. As you can see, the imbalances offer a lot of possibilities to be displayed here, and then to be used in the actual trade. I'm going to deactivate this here again. Take it out here. And then we can also deactivate the whole imbalances area here. And then we won't see any more coloring, and we'll simply have the pure footprint available for us to trade again. We'll see you again in the next video, and then we'll talk about the volume POG.